Hello, friends, and welcome to a lesson that should, well, let you sprout your ideas. Your ideas about how we can take things from around your house and turn them into something fresh and exciting, right? So we're going to work on a project that will allow you to sprout seeds, and you're going to need a couple of materials to do that. Find yourself an egg carton. Now this is for 18 eggs, and maybe you have a dozen or maybe you have 6, but either of those will work. You'll also need some plastic wrap, potentially a pair of scissors, a spoon, a water mister with some water in it. Put that right there. Oh, and you'll need some seeds. And I think some of you might even have some of these at home, some of these beautiful sunflower seeds. Now, you might even be able to start one of these, although they'll get pretty big pretty quickly, and I'll tell you a little more about that soon. Today, I'm going to be planting basil seeds from my harvest last year. Each of these little flowers has a bunch of little black basil seeds, and we'll get some of those out. The one other thing you're going to need is some soil, not dirt. And there is a difference between dirt and soil. Dirt is just, rocks and dust and sand all mixed together. Look very closely. You can see bits of leaf, little sticks. There's even some perlite in here too, but generally soil has organic matter in it. It's really important. As that stuff breaks down, it gives food to the seeds. Not really food, more like nutrients. Think about how at breakfast you might even take vitamins. That's what we're looking for. Okay, let's clear all the rest of this stuff out so we can focus on how to build a nice seed starter. All you need to begin is that egg carton and the scissors, and the first thing you're going to want to do is cut this top right off of there. It's pretty easy. This material that it's made out of is very soft. In fact, that practically just tore off. And don't throw this away, but go ahead and put that underneath, like a tray. That'll help keep everything nice and moist down there. You can cut off this little tab here. We do not need that. All right. Now I'm going to take my soil, and into each of these little sections I'm going to put some soil. I'm going to use my spoon to do that. You're welcome to use a shovel, but I find a spoon gives me just enough soil for each of these. Not too much, just a little to get that seed started. And if you put too much and it's the soil level's too high, you may find some of your roots will creep over into some of the other sections. Now, you can use this to just start seeds for your garden, but you could also be doing all sorts of experiments with this too, looking at root growth, measuring how fast certain things grow with certain, different levels of light or different levels of water. If you're doing something like that, make sure you label each of these with what you're doing. But also, if you're planting different seeds, make sure you label either right on the side or make some little flags with some paper and toothpicks to write down the names of each of the things that you're planting in here. We're just planting basil. You can never have enough basil. And this is a very special kind of basil. I think it's called mammoth basil. It has huge leaves. They're very mild and sweet. It's very nice. All right. And you can take your spoon or even your finger and just make sure you don't want to pack it down too much. You want it to be sort of loose, but making sure everything's pretty nice and level. Now notice I left these spikes in here. You might think, why would you do that? I'll show you. Just a moment. Okay, let's take that soil out of there because I think I've got enough. Just needs a little bit of moving around to get it all level. And again, trying to get rid of that soil that might be grouping up between these little sections. I don't want too much of that. Okay. Cool. Now we're ready for our seeds. So let me grab those flowers again. And with basil, all the seeds are hidden inside the old flowers. So if I just snap one of these flowers off here, I should get some seeds. Oh, look at that. I don't know if you can even see that on the camera, but that little black speck right there is a basil seed. And before I lose that, I'm going to put that in somewhere. You can grab a pencil or a toothpick or a chopstick, but you do want to make just a teeny tiny little hole in one of these and drop that basil seed in, and then sprinkle just a little bit of soil back over it nice and loose. And you're going to do that to each of these. All right, well, whew. Glad you didn't have to wait long for that, but that did take some time to get all those little seeds into their spots nice and comfortable. Now, something about putting seeds in. Some seeds require certain depths of soil, so you're going to want to check on that before you put your seeds in here. And again, some might grow much faster. If you've got a plant that's going to have a huge taproot, this might not be the best way to start it. Basil takes some time to germinate. It starts out very small and then it grows gradually and then it starts to get bigger. So this is great for some of those little things like basil, or it works pretty well with tomatoes too because they get off to a little bit of a slow start as well. Anyway, okay, we're ready for the next step. All the seeds are in there, nice and comfortable, some loose soil over them. Wow, it's fantastic. Smell that soil, and that spring air is coming up out there, so we want to get these ready. So I'm going to grab my spray bottle and I'm going to give each of them some spray. You're welcome to water these with a spoon. That might also be a way to get it in there, but the key is you want to do it gently. If you just start pouring big amounts of water in here, you might flood it. Now, the egg carton material absorbs water, which is fantastic. But you're going to want to check to make sure that there's enough moisture every day. You don't want soggy soil and you don't want a really soggy egg carton. But if the egg carton feels a little moist and the soil's got a little bit of moisture in it, you should be all right. And I'm going to show you something else to do in a moment that's going to help to lock that moisture in. Also, don't forget that underneath this egg carton, we put the top of the carton, this tray, which is also, as the moisture hits the bottom of these little sections, that's going to help to absorb it and keep it in there as well. And really, to start, those seeds are going to need plenty of water, so once you start feeling that the egg carton's getting a little moist underneath, you should be all right, and I think we're just about there. Ready for one more step before we find a great warm place to put these. So there's one material we haven't used yet, and that would be your plastic wrap. So you're going to want to get some plastic wrap out. And I find that going over the long way like this seems to help a lot. Gives you just enough. So go ahead and stretch out a nice piece of plastic wrap. You can use that toothed edge, or I like to use scissors sometimes because those teeth can give me some trouble. Although the scissors can be slightly difficult too if you can't get that tension in there. But it looks like we're doing all right. Something else you could do before you start putting the seeds in, you're welcome to decorate these as well. You know, there's not a lot of space to decorate, but a little bit of paint on the side might look nice. All right, so see, that covers pretty nicely. Now, check this out. If I lift this up, I can actually tuck the plastic wrap right underneath. How cool is that? And once you get it under, you can sort of stick it to itself. And then go ahead and get the other side as well. And you can sort of lay it in there as you tuck it. Okay. And what you've created now is a bit of like a little greenhouse. That plastic wrap's going to trap the moisture in there, and it's going to trap some of the warm air. It's going to heat up nicely. You might even see some condensation start to form on that plastic. And eventually you'll see your little plant start to grow. But again, this has to be maintained. Check it every so often. Make sure there's plenty of moisture in there. You can get a quick look by feeling the bottom of the egg carton, but also by looking at that soil and just making sure it has moisture. If things dry out, your seeds may not survive, so make sure to give them everything they need to grow. Now, you could use this for a wide range of experiments. You can give different amounts of water to things, different amounts of light. You could also cut these into different sections if you want to separate them out and put them in different locations. See if some locations work better than others. But really, you can also use it to get ready for your garden too. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures of what some of the ones I've made this year looked like as they sprouted. But for me, it's time to go find a nice, warm, sunny place, a window, preferably a south-facing window. And just one last thing, I have to inject this little bit of knowledge at the end. Do you know why we want a south-facing window? And think about where those perpendicular rays always are. They're usually south of us. Remember, they hit the equator most of the year. They're hitting down that area, and they do come up towards us, but they're always going to be to the south, and that's where most of your sunlight's going to come, unless there's a big tree or something else in the way. But anyway, I'm going to go get these somewhere nice and comfortable. I can't wait to see all of your fantastic seed trays, and good luck on your garden, friends.